Thank you so much, Jeff, for inviting ARAC here to present to you all today, and I look forward to sharing some of our insights with you all. Excuse me. So, running through the agenda today, really just kind of first talk about, so why are you, Jessica, up on the podium? So I'm going to talk about what we do at ARAC, just a little bit about my background, and then really focus on the status of the industry. So really, what is the state of the industry when it comes to regulatory considerations, the consumer, innovation and science, and how all of that interacts and plays a role in your specific space. So I hate talking about myself. I could talk about research and people all day, but this slide just is there to summarize why I'm up here. So I started my career in the federal government sector, really focused on public health, excuse me, and making the world a better place. Then from there, I went into other consulting roles up in Washington, D.C., and then finally landed at Altria for about 7 years. And then 3.5 years ago, started back up my small business, ARAC, Applied Research Analysis Company. Now here I'm alongside our Chief Marketing Officer, Allison Shoemate, who's in the back snapping pictures. And we now have a team of 11 folks that I want to show you. So we have clinical research team, we have a separate kind of behavioral science research team, obviously an executive team, and then have various support staff. So a wonderful team that supports our work. So the role we play, as many of you all know, the landscape has evolved over many, many years in the tobacco and nicotine space. If you've not been in this space for very long, I can tell you it has evolved rapidly and drastically. And we're gonna cover a little bit about that today. But our role really serves from supporting manufacturers, supporting consultants, supporting and having alignment with the regulator, but most importantly, focusing on what the people out there in the public want, need, and where is that coming from. So we support innovation, product development, excuse me, and then Module 6, so part of the PMTA, so the regulatory requirement in order for a product to come legally onto the market to be authorized. We support the behavioral science aspects of the application, all the way through to what is required from the FDA from manufacturers once a product is authorized, which we refer to as post-market surveillance. And then we also do consumer research around the world. So we're gonna get a little bit into that and why the US consumer has become the US consumer. And it really does revolve around the consumer research and the insights we take from other countries. Excuse me. So when we think about this, it can be a variety of different technical terms, research-related terms, but really, as the foundation of it, we conduct any type of research you can imagine. So we will be face-to-face with one consumer, we'll be face-to-face with 15 consumers, we will be surveying 5,000 consumers online. So we then develop the survey, implement it, manage it, we conduct the analyses behind it, and then we provide the insights to our clients to really be able to answer whatever question it is related to human beings, excuse me, and being able to, thank you, being able to understand, their thoughts, their feelings, their behaviors, and all of that then comes together to make what it is that you see in your career and in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So some of these are very technical and related to FDA, other things just more broad, like the quantitative and qualitative research methods. So the good stuff, kind of why I'm here. So fundamentally at our core, we believe, and we have seen time and time again, what drives success. Success is driven in this industry with considerations by the regulator, the consumer, and scientific innovation. And I say scientific innovation because there has to be some basis of rigor, reliability, repeatability when you're considering the science behind your innovation, your product development. So this right here, currently, a business comes up with a product, or they buy another product from someone else. This is what it has taken, probably for the past, I would say, I've been in the industry 11 years. I guess, for the past 4 or 5 years. You conduct, product development, prototyping, you will survey the consumer base, then you do your scientific testing and your scientific research, and then you submit an application to the FDA, the regulator, to say, we would like to have our product on the market. That has taken, for some companies, 5 years to even hear back or hear a word from the FDA to say, we have questions. Some companies don't even know where their application is. So we're gonna get into the illicit, illegal market. How is that of concern or relevance to you? And I'm gonna provide 2 viewpoints there for your consideration. Fundamentally, this is a problem. It has been a problem. Industry has known it as a problem because by the time your product is authorized legally for you to sell, consumers don't want it. They're way beyond the technology. They're way beyond the type of product that it is. So I love this slide I pulled from the internet. I should have referenced. But this gives a real, I love this because not only is it showing major advancements in our industry, but then retraction of those advancements. And then what you're going to hopefully see in the next slide, we are back to an advancement in a lot of these areas. So for example, and you also see it's color coded by the type of product. So we've got combustibles, dissolvables, or oral nicotine products, smokeless snus, heated tobacco products, and ends. So one of these that I love, having been at Altria, is Accord. I heard about and studied Accord. 1998, a heated tobacco product. Before that, 1989, RJR. 1988. We are in 2025, and we are back talking about heated tobacco products. But what happened? Okay, over time, both of those got retracted. And I would say, likely, because the consumer in the US market wasn't ready for it, right? It could be definitely additional variables there. But 27 years later, we have one heated tobacco product authorized for sale in the United States market. And I'm gonna get to it in a few slides, which is, when you go internationally, we're so far behind consumers there and the regulatory frameworks there. Other things to note here, again, if you're here, you've been in the industry a while, and you remember this cycle. I joined the industry in 2015. Juul really took off. Let's see, what else is there to note? Just, various products, again, that you see come in, and then if you were to go through, you see them be retracted. Now, if we look at more from a regulatory lens, what has happened over the past 5 years? A whole hell of a lot. So we saw the minimum wage from the federal standpoint from 18 to 21, okay? We meet with consumers all the time. I would say 50% of the time, maybe even up to 60, 70% of the time, consumers in the US market today still believe the federal minimum is 18. They do not know it is 21. And we're gonna really get to this point of the disconnect between the US consumer and what they do and know on a daily basis. So then 2020, we also saw the starting of the implementation of the graphic warning label. Then this has been paused, this has been struck down by courts, this has been brought back up, this has been said it's unconstitutional. You're probably sitting in the audience like, yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know when it's supposed to be implemented, if it's supposed to be implemented. Because a law, a rule comes out, a law comes out, it gets struck down. It's really confusing. But that started in 2020. We're in 2025, still not, right? It's still, graphic warning labels are still not on combustible cigarettes. 2020, we started to see a rapid decline in combustible cigarette use, and that is going to be tied to these reduced risk products. So that's when, as we'll see, the ends products start coming into the market. Oral nicotine starts to kind of poke its head in the room. But it is still, smoking combustible cigarettes is still the #1 form of obtaining nicotine. We saw the legal challenges, heated tobacco products rise, we see then that continued traction. Then we see synthetic nicotine, right? So we go from tobacco-derived nicotine in our ends products to now synthetic nicotine. Then we see the FDA catch on to that and say, okay, you've got a short period of time. This is likely the time, if you have been in this industry working in your role since 2020, this is probably the most confusing part for anyone in y'all's positions likely. Because products get on the market and for X amount of period of time, there's no law or regulation that prohibits their sale. They are synthetic products. They are not under any type of regulation by the FDA. It's a loophole, so to speak. And those were the products that consumers actually wanted and were using. Well, FDA catches onto it and then starts to implements that into their regulatory authority. They give the amount of time that companies need to submit their application. There was a court-ordered deadline, right, of reviewing these applications that had been submitted a year prior. Again, that's 4 years, still has not been reviewed and decisions been made on a lot of those applications. What it has told me, honestly, is like the law doesn't matter, regulations don't matter, and the court orders don't matter in this space. Because if it did, the FDA would be reviewing the applications to allow manufacturers and clients to sell a product legally in 180 days as required by the statute that was established. But they're not, right? Some are 5 years, 7 years, 3 years. Then we see these proposed rules, and we're going to get into a little bit of detail there. So the main ones are removing menthol from cigarettes in most flavored cigars on the market. We're going to talk a lot about that at the state level. We also have reduced nicotine. So several different rules kind of are in the queue there. And then over time, we continue to see cigarettes going down, the back and forth of pushing a regulation forward, retracting it. All the way through to really where we are today. The proposed rule to reduce nicotine coming out in January when President Biden was still, is that correct? Was January this year? Yeah. January when yes, it was. Yeah, I was like, what year are we in? And then the public has until September, I think 15th, to provide comment to that. But likely under the Trump administration, that will just kind of stay there. But upon that rule being then passed and submitted in the Federal Register, companies then have 2 years. So 2 years to actually enact what that rule is telling them to do. Important for you to know, which is regulations get passed, it's not effective immediately. Well, how much time do I have to make sure that the products I'm carrying and the products I'm selling are truly the ones that are legal today? It's very convoluted. And then the Supreme Court case has been just a lot of things. And as I mentioned, so we have the menthol. These are all proposed rules. Had the Democratic Party won the previous election, I fundamentally believe most of, or if not all of these, would have been signed. And we have a lawyer in the room who can clarify me here. I believe 2 of these are literally sitting on the shelf and are waiting to be picked up for signature to be implemented. When the Democratic Party did not win, they were put, on the shelf. Otherwise, we would likely have seen these rules being established. Which, again, for the very low nicotine, that means within 2 years, you will need to only be able to sell cigarettes that are at a 0.7 nicotine level or below. Anything above that, you're selling the product illegally. And these are federal standards, not state. Then, that was the nicotine level. Cigars, characterizing flavors. This is really becoming big at a state level. California just passed an unflavored tobacco list effective the end of this year. If that product is not on this list, you cannot possess it, you cannot sell it, you can't purchase it online. It is completely prohibited in the state of California. We have seen a lot of states follow this type of kind of prohibition, honestly, and not quite at this level yet, but the states are saying, okay, federal government, you're not making action, so we will. Now, of course, then that will go to courts, and that will, take years and years to establish. During that time, you will need to know, though, are you breaking the law or not? Okay, so then state of the industry. So that's kind of like from the regulatory perspective, what's been going on. Let's talk about youth access, youth use. This was, basically considered a moral epidemic. It was this, frenzy in the United States when really around the time Juul was out there. One could question how the data was analyzed and then reported and the skewness of that. But nonetheless, there was an uptick in youth that were using these products. But then that led to what kind of products? A lot of them then were, not just Juul, but others were synthetic. That's where the loophole was identified. That's when then synthetic becomes regulated. And really the whole situation we've been in under the Biden administration was stemming from the youth use, unfortunately. So today, these are the products that are authorized for sale in the United States. I don't know why there's a question on this news. So here's a list of those. Breaking down, we are seeing movement this year. So we've got Zen, and those had flavors. We have Juul, and that's menthol. So we are seeing movement, which is good. Unfortunately, the consumer in the United States predominantly is well beyond the list that you see here. I would say besides Zen and Juul, everything else is pretty much, very much outdated. Now, what we're also seeing then are these state government registries. So as I mentioned, if the federal government isn't going to come in and provide a regulation or kind of like a stopgap for manufacturers, the states are going to do it. Now, we're seeing, as you see, which is very hard to see the gray there, but some don't have e-registry bills. Some have already passed in red. Gold are considering. And then you have a quote, public health oriented. In talking with Jeff, I thought it was, before this meeting, I thought it was really good to hear more about the bill that Virginia has considered. I believe it is fundamentally unfair, a disservice, and I won't say it directly, but I'll go close to saying it's unethical to have registry bills for states that only say you can sell these products. So only you can sell, these are the authorized products, and this is legally what you can keep on your shelves, what you can ship out of your warehouses, and what you can receive. Because I'll tell you, you wanna talk about public health, the smoking rates are going to skyrocket because people aren't using these products. They're using the ones that satisfy their nicotine satisfaction. They're using the ones that are convenient. They're using the ones that taste good, that have flavors. We've seen it over and over and over again. So this concerns me when the states go and draw a very hard line on whether or not you have PMTA authorization or not. In my opinion, again, speaking for the consumer, you will drive them back to combustible cigarettes. And so I think it really needs to be carefully considered by states which products they select and why, obviously having a justification to be on that list. And this goes back to just the whole PMTA process being totally flawed. There's no reason that a statute that says you review an application in 180 days is not reviewed in 180 days and instead takes 5 and 6 years. I'm sure you guys are amping up for the Virginia registry. I think there's a lot of flexibility in that registry. So it incorporates that 2020 to 2021 time period where synthetic nicotine was on the market. I think it's if you had submitted an application within the time frame that the FDA gave, you would be considered under enforcement discretion. And really, we'll talk about the separation of the bad actors versus those that are actually really trying, and how do you do that? But that's also what I think the registry bill should also be considering. So, state of the industry in the U.S., it's being driven internationally. We have a large international presence. have diverse clients from different countries, and it is amazing to see how the consumer in Sweden, the consumer in Japan, the consumer in other countries, that product eventually makes its way to the US and is ready for success. Now, yeah, did we have heated tobacco products in 1989? Absolutely. They got retracted, and I would love to know the history there. But what we see is your consumer is driven by the international market, whether directly or indirectly. So we are constantly boots on the ground all over the world, and we're understanding, I think I got it. We're understanding what the consumer in more seasoned markets, who have more seasoned sensory, so their taste, the appeal, what are they doing? Because then what we do is help clients here in the US say, get ready, because in a few years it's gonna be coming here. Perfect example of this is wet white pouches. So as you all know, the only authorized oral nicotine pouch right now is Zyn, right? Many are operating under enforcement discretion. Rogue, we have close friends at Swisher, and other applicants. On is another one. They submitted great applications, right? But because of the way FDA was functioning, they've heard nothing. So should it be illegal to sell on and Rogue? I would say absolutely not. They just haven't received the authorization yet. But those are dry pouches. Dry pouches, I would probably give it a year. If the illegal market takes over in the pouch space, which get ready, because it's going to. We know it is, we're seeing it, we speak with people where it's happening. It's coming in here and it's coming very fast. But if that happens, you're gonna see it quicker than a year. You are going to see the US consumer base go from dry Zyn, a very dry pouch, to the wet white pouch is what we call it, with higher nicotine strength, but because of the delivery, the release of it is not the same as a dry pouch. But you're going to see it here. And so you are going to be asked, you are going to see in the market the reduction of people buying the dry pouches and the increased purchasers of the wet. Well, what happens when the wet pouches don't have authorization? What are you gonna do? You're gonna lose a lot of money. So it's something to be considering, something to be asking the question when people come to you to say, hey, can you sell my product? Or hey, we need X pallets of whatever product. What are the questions that you're gonna ask to make sure that they're really in it for the right reasons and they're not bad actors? So another example here, European markets, heated tobacco products, 2014 was when they were introduced. We've been doing great work with a company that tracks a heated tobacco product and looking over time at what that has done to Japan and Italy, prevalence of smoking versus heated tobacco products and the impact that that is doing to public health, and it's huge. In 11 years, what it has done in Japan is absolutely astounding. So let's just say what IQOS, I have to go back, but when they were authorized, but due to various reasons, weren't really on the market, right? And then they were completely removed, and now they're back with a test market, but that's the old version. Anyway, so a lot of things, now 11 years, we're seeing heated tobacco products. I bet we're gonna see a big spike. Oral nicotine products, so Sweden, Switzerland since 2019. Obviously that is really taking off in the US market now. Okay, so we're gonna tell you a little bit about what we hear on a daily basis from the US consumer. What you should take away. The people or the stores or the companies that come to you that need products, are selling you products, this is who those products are ultimately going to. So down here, they are going to people who, yeah, you look at that and you're like 82%, pretty good. This is of a study that said on the packaging, tobacco free, right front and center on it. And we have 19% of people saying either, yes, there's tobacco in it, or I don't know. So you are dealing with consumers who don't necessarily really even know what they're being shown when they go to the store. And even if they read it and we ask them to explicitly read it, they don't know what that means. You are having a market of people who, the reasons why they want e-cigarettes and ENDS products, convenience, right? Where I can't smoke. Might help me stop smoking, so for health reasons. And what else we got up here? More acceptable. So there's very much a stigma, as we all probably know, around smoking cigarettes in the United States. And so the acceptability of an alternative is at the top of their minds. Cut down on number of cigarettes. And so you can see these are the main, top 4 or 5 reasons. Some quotes. There's a lot of people, y'all, who they love smoking cigarettes. They have no intention to quit. They don't want to quit. They know it's harmful for them, but they love it. Do not come to me and tell me that I should put down my cigarette. Who are you to tell me? Okay, right? If they know the risks, they know the harms, then it is what it is. Certainly we, in a lot of our work, will always try to provide them with alternatives, and because we do see the benefits of switching. And you see that in the first few quotes there. A lot of them say, well, it's better for me to smoke. They say that because on oral nicotine pouch packaging, I'm sure you guys have seen it, on some of them it says, keep away from pets, keep away from children, do not swallow, do not ingest, maybe do not swallow, all these warnings. And you know what they say to themselves? No, I've had people refuse to try them. People smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day because they say it's more harmful to them than smoking their cigarettes because of all the warnings that are on nicotine pouches. So they think it's better to smoke. Flavor, 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 flavor. It is why adults switch from combustible cigarettes. There are definitely other main top factors, but that is, I would say, top 3, 100%. And then additional voices from our consumer. Again, these are the people that you are servicing. Again, supporting that. I thought that vaping was worse than smoking. That's what my doctor told me. We have a fundamental issue in the United States with our healthcare system, healthcare providers, the people that adults who smoke trust, fundamentally believe that e-cigarettes are more harmful. It's a huge problem. I was only ever told to try using the gum to help me stop smoking. I didn't know there were other things that could help me. So that's speaking to, these are people that are going into convenience stores, right? They're going into Wawa. It's everywhere. These alternative products are everywhere, but they're not even seeing them, right? They're not even registering what these kinds of products are. If nicotine is so bad for me, what's the difference between smoking cigarettes and using a vape? Again, misperceptions. They have inaccurate knowledge of what causes the harm associated with smoking. They fundamentally, most people believe it is nicotine, not that it's the combustion of the tobacco. Stress levels impact behavior all the time. And then I hope you have the product. It's amazing. I hope it hits stores because it is actually better than any I have ever had. That is a quote we see all the time in our studies, completely separate products. But at the one thing that is similar across all of these studies and all of these products is flavor. If the flavor is smooth, the hit is smooth, you gotta get those things right. But flavor comes up at the top and they want it in the stores. So, okay, so what? Like, what does this mean to you? I can't honestly imagine being in some of your shoes right now. You know, on the one hand, you have the focus of compliance, right? You need to comply. And on the other side, it's business, right? There's a bottom line. There's success here. There's feeding families. And so on the one side, compliance. You're dealing with juggling ever-changing state flavor bans, state registries, what state has which criteria for establishing you functioning legally versus illegally. It's all different. We have then local. We have city, locality bans. We have changes in taxes and stamps and licensing for selling, distributing, holding on to products. How do you define the successful product authorizations? You have to know that. As I mentioned, the products that are under enforcement discretion. When does that change, right? So when do we think FDA might come and say, no more enforcement discretion, right? Is anybody gonna be informed when that happens? Are you gonna know when that goes away and now you're selling, quote, illegal products? We've had a huge, it's wild, wild west in the end space. The illicit market is insane. And a lot of these products, some of them, have manufacturers that didn't do any science to support it being on the market. I think that most people here are working with manufacturers and companies that comply, right, and are very much aware of, quote, the bad actors. But there are one in particular, we have tried to convince to go through the PMTA science to get authorized for 2 years. And they won't do it. One of the leading brands, they will not do it, which concerns me because, if I go and purchase, I have no idea what is in that e-liquid. I have no idea what's in that vape. They haven't even done the basic scientific testing. That's a bad actor, right? But then you have other instances where there are people copying currently authorized products. So how are you gonna know that the pallets you receive are actually Zyn and on products? And I know that there are definitely steps that you guys take to verify and validate. So, and then who owns which company? So as we've had mergers, as we've had different partnerships and agreements, so Altria and JTI for Plume, who owns what when it comes to which aspect of the product and selling it. So let's assume, hopefully, Plume gets authorized. Who are you and who is your key stakeholder? Is it JTI? Is it Altria? Is it one of those for the taxes? Is it another one for compliance and other aspects? Don't know. Those are questions you want to be asking. And then legal updates. There can be a law, regulation. Who knows then what can happen and for how long within the court system that can, spiral that out of control for years. So that's all the compliance. But on the flip side, as a business owner myself, at the end of the day, you're growing, you're supporting, you're nurturing, you're serving a business that has a bottom line, that has revenue, profit considerations, and losses that you might have to consider. How are you going to keep stocking, your distribution center or your warehouse if now you have only 3 of your current clients that are, quote, legal, right, and have been authorized? So being able to differentiate between the good faith players and the bad actors is really important. And then God bless you. Then do you have justification when if FDA comes knocking on your door and asks you why you've been selling X, Y, and Z? It's one of those questions again. So if these state registries occur, I am terrified for those who are smaller, right? Maybe not small, but the medium players who are trying all they can to stay within compliance, but really only the bigger guys are gonna have the resources, the time, the support to keep up with all of this. And then businesses are gone. That's terrifying to me. If all of their business was on, the actors that don't want to play at all and who want to be totally illegal, that's one thing, right? That's kind of the bad actor pile. I don't think anybody here is in that camp. I think most people, which I think is my next point, are serving the consumer. So the illicit market, the quote illegal market, the only reason it's there is because 1, FDA did not follow their statute of 180 days, and 2, businesses formed products to meet the need of consumers, supply and demand. Consumers don't want the products that were developed in 1999 or 2005. So being, again, a business owner, I'm like, makes sense. I know there's a target market. I know there's a consumer that wants it. I'm gonna give it to them, right? And so a lot of people are driving their business and getting frustrated because all they're doing is they're trying to serve Jack, who they met 3 years ago, who was smoking 2 packs a day of cigarettes, came into their store, and that person that, walked them through all of the options and went on a journey with them and took them from smoking 2 packs a day, I'm getting chills, to an ends product. But that ends product isn't, quote, legal, it's not authorized. That breaks my heart. And a lot of that is happening right now. So the consumer choice is such a big part and of my concern with all of these registries that are going into effect. Again, supply and demand, very basic business principle. And I think a lot of that, of what we're seeing on the market was a result of meeting the demand. I see a lot of people, and I feel for it, you just fundamentally disagree. This is illogical. This is irrational. This isn't right. Like, they're not following the law with 180 days. Yeah, we know, that's frustrating. And I can't imagine. And then, the best one is, you are managing, you are leading a warehouse, the inventory, a product client, say you're managing Altria or Reynolds, and you have functioned for the past 15 years in that previous regulatory environment. I mean, I could see myself asking myself, is it really my role to know and keep up with everything over there on the compliance side? Like, that's way beyond what I put in for, right? Unfortunately, I do think the law says that if you are selling, if you are holding product in with the intention of selling or receiving, you are responsible. So that's, a heavy load to bear on your shoulders. And we're certainly here. We have a great support system, have a lot of attorneys that we work with, one here today, and I just can't imagine this complex environment that all of you find yourself in. If you care to know anything in detail about your consumer, where is your consumer going, please, reach out to Allie. We'll be around next 2 days. Myself, reach out to Allie, who's back there, myself. We'll be here the next 2 days. And really just looking forward to connecting with you all. And I think that's all I have.